To start us off, George Barany, Nancy Register, and Steve Brobeck tell us the story of why America Saves was created in Cleveland back in 2001.
I'm Steve Brobeck, and for several decades, I led the Consumer Federation of America. During the 1990s, most of the work I did was on personal debt issues, and I realized uh, as we approached the new century that there might be an opportunity to address debt issues by encouraging people to save more effectively. So we learned that most low income households do not save adequately, and particularly don't even have an emergency savings fund. And secondly, we also discovered, somewhat to our surprise, that these households, most of them, do have the capacity to save something if they're given up adequate opportunity and encouragement. And so that really led to the idea for a low and moderate income savings program.
I became involved with America Saves when Steve Brobeck, who was then the executive director at CFA, asked me to be his partner in creating this new initiative that helped low to moderate income households to save money, reduce debt, and build wealth. And that we were going to start by creating a local campaign in Cleveland called Cleveland Saves. So we went to Cleveland to meet with George Barany and Jay Seaton, who were going to help us do this development in Cleveland. And we worked with them to create Cleveland Saves, which became the prototype for, well, up to 70 campaigns around the country ultimately.
21 years ago, I was approached by Steve and Nancy to help create a novel, new kind of initiative to encourage people to save more effectively. And Steve identified Cleveland as an opportune place to test this out.
When we organized Cleveland Saves, we reached out to the banks right at the outset, and we were very pleased that several of them responded very favorably and agreed to make available affordable savings accounts that weren't laden with fees. And in fact, that was a criterion for financial institution participation in Cleveland Saves. And by the time we launched the program, every major bank and credit union had agreed to provide an affordable savings account.
Candidly, we didn't really know what we were doing, right? So we did a lot of research, we talked to experts, and we cobbled together what we thought was the best way to do this to change people's behavior. But we found over time that we needed to adapt, create new, develop some programming.
San Jose actually asked us to bring America Saves to the city and involve their workforce initiative. And so we were talking about how to encourage people to save and what the motivations were. And George and I were sort of standing there in front of everybody, and she was with us. And she turned around to the whole group and she said, "Just remember, a man is not a financial plan." And George and I started laughing so hard that we looked at each other and we laughed so hard, neither one of us could talk. And the whole group just exploded. It was hilarious.
It's interesting that, in the beginning, our ambition was to change the culture of Americans from spending it all to saving some and establishing emergency resources. And while we haven't reached perhaps, 300 million people, we have reached many, many millions of people and persuaded them to save billions of dollars. I mean, we have financial institutions who report to us their activity during America Saves Week, and they're giving us hard data on an annual basis as to How many people are opening up and depositing into new and existing accounts, and how much, and how many people are establishing automatic saving, which is something that we're laser-like focused on encouraging people to establish. So the promise from our start perhaps hasn't been fully realized, but I think we've made tremendous progress in influencing millions of Americans.